Welcome to Galactic Tales YT, where the world of science fiction comes to life through powerful stories, emotional journeys, and breathtaking adventures across the stars. Alien girl tears, open human's shirt, then realizes the terrifying truth. HFY Sci-fi tale. The stars looked peaceful that night. No one knew that before sunrise, a war would begin. One the galaxy would never forget. High above the glowing clouds of Earth, a man stood at the edge of a silent observation deck, staring into the dark. His name was Rex Hale, captain of the Frontier Corps, and he had seen many battles. But something about tonight felt different. He could feel it in the stillness. The kind of silence that happens just before lightning strikes. Down in the command room, alarms suddenly screamed to life. Red lights flashed. Data streams poured across the hollow screens. "Unidentified ships detected beyond Jupiter orbit," shouted a technician. No ID code, no signal, just shadows. Rex turned sharply. "How many?" The answer came quiet, almost fearful. "Too many." A chill spread through the room. Space near Jupiter shimmered like rippling water. Then the shadows came into focus. Hundreds of black, needle-shaped warships, moving in perfect silence. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the comm officer whispered, "They're not broadcasting anything." "Not even a threat," Rex's jaw tightened. "That is the threat. The first attack hit the mining colonies on Europa. No warning, no surrender request, just fire." People screamed across the communication lines as plasma storms tore through their domes. Rex could only listen helplessly as signals went dead, one by one. He slammed his fist on the console. "Who are they?" A scientist in the back looked pale. "The design of those ships? It matches old records." "Very old," Rex frowned. "From where?" The scientist hesitated, then whispered, "The Vorgul Empire." "They disappeared centuries ago." Everyone in the room froze.
The name felt like a ghost crawling out of history, half a galaxy away, on a desert world called Tarnis. The first survivors were dragged from smoking ruins.
Alien soldiers with scaled armor and glowing helmets herded them into cages. The air smelled of burning metal and blood. One of the soldiers kicked a human to the ground. "You will work until you die, primitive," he hissed. The human spat blood and smiled. "We don't die easy." The alien frowned. He didn't understand why a beaten man could still sound dangerous. In the corner of the prison yard, an alien officer watched carefully. His name was Kraith, Supreme Marshal of the Vorgul Legions. His armor shone with dark silver lines, and his voice echoed like thunder. "Humans are interesting," he said. "Fragile, yet stubborn. Bring one alive to Vorgul 9. I want to see what makes them fight." Weeks passed. Every colony between Mars and Vega burned. The galaxy watched in fear, but something strange happened. Earth did not speak. No broadcasts. No demands. No surrender. Alien intelligence networks called it weakness. Silence meant fear. But those who truly knew humans knew better. When humans go quiet, it means they are preparing for something. Inside a hidden command bunker under the Himalayas, Commander Alina Torres stood before a dark hologram of the solar system. She was young but carried the kind of eyes that had seen too many funerals. "How many worlds lost?" she asked softly. Her aide replied, "4 confirmed. 2 more uncontactable. They're targeting outer colonies first." Alina nodded slowly. "They think we'll panic. They think we'll beg." She turned to the officers gathered around the table. "We won't." At the same moment, deep within a captured facility on Vorgul 9, a group of human prisoners were lined up for testing. Machines hummed. Lights buzzed. The air felt cold and thick, like the breath of a predator. A scientist, tall and insect-like, examined a restrained man on the table. "Human," it said in its clicking voice, "your species is weak. Why resist?" The man lifted his head. He was bruised, bleeding, but his eyes were calm. "Because you made a mistake," he said quietly. The scientist tilted its head. "Mistake?" The human smiled faintly. "You messed with humans," the alien sneered. "And why is that a mistake?" The human looked straight at him. "Because now you won't survive." The lights flickered. In the distance, the sky above Vorgul 9 glowed red, not from the alien sun, but from burning ships falling through the atmosphere. Back on Earth, Alina's fleet launched under full silence. No victory speeches, no music. Only one code phrase transmitted across every human ship. Project Revenant, we rise. Within hours, fleets vanished from radar, jumping into deep space, toward the coordinates of Vorgul 9. In the cold dark of space, Rex Hale sat chained in his cell, staring out at the stars. His lips moved silently, forming a single name. Alina. Somewhere far away, she whispered the same name back, not knowing why. Two hearts, half a galaxy apart, preparing for the same war, and when humans prepare for war, the universe trembles. Echoes from Earth space had gone quiet again. After the first attacks, no one had seen a human ship in weeks. No distress calls, no transmissions, only wreckage drifting through the void. The aliens thought the humans were finished. They were wrong. On the cold desert moon of Vorgul 9, Captain Rex Hale knelt in his cell. Shackles bound his wrists, but his mind was free, sharper than ever. He had learned the guards' patrol times, the energy pattern of the electric locks, even the breathing rhythm of the alien scientist who visited daily. Every night, he whispered to himself, "They'll come." And somewhere deep in his chest, he felt it, the pulse of home, far across the stars, inside a hidden facility under the frozen Atlantic. Commander Alina Torres stood in front of a vast screen filled with faces, soldiers, pilots, engineers, and leaders from across the human alliance. "This meeting does not exist," she began. Her voice was calm but carried a dangerous certainty. "Our people are missing, our worlds are burning, and the galaxy believes we are afraid." She paused, letting silence stretch until it hurt. But they forget what fear means to us. "Fear is fuel." The officers exchanged glances. Some looked uncertain, others grimly determined. Alina continued, "The Vorgul think humans are predictable. They see compassion as weakness, patience as surrender. Let's teach them how wrong they are." Behind her, the screen shifted to display hundreds of coordinates across the galaxy. Operation Revenant. For years, humans had quietly mapped alien routes, intercepted comm codes, and built hidden ships beyond known space. While other species saw Earth as small, humans had been busy learning everyone's weaknesses. The aliens had launched the first strike. Humanity was preparing the last one. Meanwhile, on the edge of the Arcturus belt, a small Vorgul scout ship detected something strange, a repeating signal too faint to identify. The captain, a creature with translucent skin and 4 burning eyes, leaned forward. "It sounds like music." The transmission grew louder. A slow, haunting melody filled the cabin. "It was human. What is this?" a crew member asked. Before anyone could answer, their sensors lit up with red warnings. Something massive emerged from hyperspace, invisible at first, then outlined by the reflected light of the nearest star. A fleet of dark ships. Sleek, silent, unmarked. Each bore a single emblem, a white circle with a red line across it. "The symbol of the Earth Defense Corps," the alien captain gasped. "Impossible." They were. The radio cut out as the human fleet fired its first volley. The silence of space shattered. Back on Earth, the transmissions from Arcturus reached command. The room erupted in cheers. Alina didn't smile. "Not yet. Don't celebrate," she said. "Not until our people are free." She turned to her communications officer. "Any sign of Hale?" "Nothing yet, Commander. But," the officer hesitated, "we intercepted a coded message from Vorgul 9. It's not ours, but it's written in human cipher. Old military code." Alina's heartbeat quickened. "What does it say?" He zoomed in on the distorted signal. The message repeated once before breaking apart into static: alive, holding, do not stop. R.H. Alina closed her eyes. "He's still fighting." Then she opened them again, her expression turning to steel. "Then so will we." Back on Vorgul 9, the scientists had grown frustrated. The human prisoner refused to die no matter what they did. Radiation, acid, mind probes. He survived everything. Kraith, the Supreme Marshal, entered the chamber, his heavy steps echoing against the steel floor. "Still alive?" he asked. The scientist hissed nervously. "He should not be. No other species endures this much pain. He adapts." Kraith studied Rex through the glass. The human met his gaze with cold calm. "What drives you?" Kraith demanded. "Your kind is scattered, broken, lost. Rex's voice was quiet, steady. "We don't need to be many. One human is enough. Enough for what?" Rex's eyes narrowed. "For revenge." At that moment, distant explosions rolled through the base. The lights flickered. Alarms wailed. The guard rushed in. "Sir! Human ships! They've breached orbit!" Kraith's four eyes widened. "Impossible! No one knows this location." Rex smiled faintly. "Told you they'd come." High above the planet, the dawn fire cut through the smoke like a blade. Alina stood on the bridge, every muscle in her body tense. "Deploy ground units," she ordered. "Find him." Her second officer stared at the radar. "Commander, the Vorgul are scrambling everything they have. Fighters, drones, even ground artillery." Alina didn't flinch. "Good. That means they're scared." The human fleet moved in perfect formation. No flashy heroics, no wild chaos. Just cold, calculated power. Missiles fell like rain, targeting only military zones. Every strike was surgical, every move deliberate. Humanity wasn't fighting for conquest. They were fighting for someone. Inside the burning prison complex, Rex broke his chains on the edge of a shattered wall. The explosion had weakened the locks. He rose slowly, his arms bruised but strong. Smoke filled the corridors. Sirens screamed. He picked up a fallen alien weapon, heavy, glowing, deadly, and smiled. "For Earth," he whispered as he stepped into the chaos. He could hear it, faint but real, the roar of human dropships cutting through the sky. In that single moment, across countless worlds, everyone who had mocked humans finally understood the truth. Humans might fall. They might bleed, but they always rise again. The experiment, the flames of Vorgul 9, burned for 3 days. Ash floated through the sky like black snow, and the air trembled with distant thunder. Deep below the surface, far beneath the shattered towers, the lab still worked, hidden, silent, untouched by the chaos above. The Vorgul did not call it a prison anymore. They called it the Research Core. Inside, the last of the human prisoners were no longer chained. They were connected to machines that hummed softly and whispered in alien tongues. A scientist named Dr. Varric, tall and insect-like, adjusted the glowing restraints on his newest subject. His long claws tapped a console. "Human number 12, he said to the recorder. "Subject displays rapid cell recovery and neural adaptation beyond prediction." He looked down at the unconscious man on the table. Captain Rex Hale. His pulse was steady. His expression calm, even in sleep. Varric tilted his head. "Impossible. Every species breaks. This one evolves." He reached forward, inserting a glowing syringe into Rex's arm. "Let's see how much your body can take before it remembers to die." The liquid burned through Rex's veins like fire. He convulsed once, then his eyes snapped open. Varric froze. Human eyes were strange to the Vorgul. Too clear, too alive. But these eyes glowed faintly green in the dim light. Rex smiled. "You should have let me stay asleep." Before Varric could react, Rex ripped his arm free from the restraint, the metal bending with a screech. "Alarm!" The scientist shrieked, but the sound was swallowed by the sudden roar of explosions overhead. Rex stood, his muscles trembling but strong. "You wanted to know what humans are made of," he said. "Now you'll find out." Above the lab, Commander Alina Torres was leading her strike team through the ruins. Dust fell from the ceilings as blaster fire echoed through every corridor. "Move!" she shouted. "Hale's last signal came from below this sector." Her squad, a mix of human soldiers and allied androids, advanced through the smoke. The air smelled of ozone and metal. "Commander," her tech officer called, "these readings don't make sense." "Power signatures, thousands of them. It's like they're cloning something." Alina stopped. "Cloning what?" Before the officer could answer, the ground shook. A section of the floor collapsed, revealing a huge chamber beneath, filled with hundreds of tanks of blue liquid, each containing a shape inside. Humanoid. Human. "Dear God," Alina whispered. The tanks stretched as far as the eye could see. One of the soldiers aimed a flashlight at the nearest tank. Inside floated a copy, an exact clone of Rex Hale, eyes closed, heartbeat faint. "This isn't a prison," Alina said slowly. "It's a factory. Down below, the real Rex moved through smoke and fire, still half numb from the drugs. His hearing rang with alarms. The corridors curved endlessly, lit by red emergency lights that painted everything in blood. He passed cell after cell, other humans inside, barely breathing, kept alive by machines. He smashed the locks, freeing them as he went. One woman grabbed his arm weakly. Who are you?" "Someone they shouldn't have taken," he said. "Can you walk?" She nodded shakily, then walk. "You're free now." In the control tower above, Marshal Kraith watched the chaos unfold on his monitors. His officers panicked, shouting for orders. Kraith's 4 eyes narrowed. "Shut the upper gates. Seal the complex." "But, sir, our troops—" "Do it," he growled. "No one leaves this facility, especially the human." The officer obeyed, but his hands trembled. Even the Vorgel were beginning to fear one man. Kraith stared at Rex's image on the screen, moving like a ghost through smoke and flame. "What are you?" he muttered. Alina's team finally reached the main power core, a vast sphere of blue light surrounded by humming conduits. "Commander, the systems are all slave to one control terminal," her tech said. "We can shut it down, but what?" "It's linked to the clones. If we cut power, they all die." Alina hesitated. "And if we don't? Then the Vorgel get an army of human soldiers they can control." For a long second, no one spoke. Then Alina took a deep breath. "Do it." The tech's fingers flew over the console. The lights began to fade. Across the base, the tanks cracked open one by one, spilling liquid like rain. But not all went dark. A few still glowed faintly, the systems refusing to die, and one of them, the nearest one, opened completely. The man inside stepped out, eyes burning bright green. He looked at Alina with confusion, then realization. "Rex?" she whispered. He smiled weakly. "Told you I'd find you." In the control tower, Kraith slammed his fist on the console.
"He survived the sequence?"
Varric, the terrified scientist, hissed, "Not possible! His genome rejected control. He is no longer human. He is beyond." Kraith turned toward the observation glass. The lab below was collapsing, sparks raining from the ceiling. "Then destroy him," Kraith roared. "Now," but it was already too late. Rex stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by light and fire. The machines that once studied him now obeyed him. He turned his eyes upward toward the cameras. "Experiment's over," he said. "Now it's your turn." Outside, the planet shook as the lab's reactor exploded in a column of blue fire. Alina's ship, the Dawnfire, pulled away just in time. From orbit, the explosion looked like a sunrise, the kind that marks the beginning of something far greater. On the bridge, Alina stared at the flames. "He's still down there," she whispered. Her second officer placed a hand on her shoulder. "Commander!" No one could survive that, but Alina only smiled faintly. "You don't know Rex Hale." Far below, buried under the ash, a single figure crawled from the wreckage, burned, bleeding, alive. He looked up at the night sky, at the stars that still waited, and whispered, "You started an experiment." He clenched his fist. "Now you'll see the result." The Ghost Fleet space remembers everything, every scream, every explosion, every dying signal. And somewhere between those echoes, something ancient began to stir. They called it the Ghost Fleet, a myth whispered among smugglers and soldiers. A story that said, when Earth was truly threatened, ships without names would rise from the dark and fight. No one believed it. Until now. In the black silence beyond the Vorgel war zone, something shimmered. One by one, giant warships faded into view, sleek, silver, and silent, their hulls reflecting no light. They carried no insignia, no broadcast, no mercy. At the head of the fleet was a colossal carrier, the HSS Revenant. Its commander, Admiral Soren Vega, stood on the bridge with his hands clasped behind his back. His voice was calm but cold as deep space. "Confirm target," he ordered. "Vorgel 9, replied the navigator. "Enemy command hub and cloning facility. Radiation still active." Vega nodded slowly. "Then let's make sure it never rises again." Far below, on the shattered surface of Vorgel 9, Rex Hale walked through ash and ruin. His uniform was burned, His body ached, but his heartbeat was steady, stronger than before. Every cell in his body buzzed with new energy, something the alien experiments had awakened. He moved like a shadow through smoke, guided by instinct. The planet groaned beneath him, broken and dying. Then he heard it, a voice through static in his earpiece. "Rex. Do you copy?" He froze. "That voice, Alina?" he whispered. "You're alive." Her voice cracked with relief. "We thought we lost you." Rex looked up at the burning sky, where streaks of light crossed the horizon. "Not yet," he said. "But it looks like the fleet's arrived." "The Ghost Fleet," Alina replied. "They came out of hyperspace an hour ago. Every hidden ship Earth ever built. Vega's leading them," Rex smiled faintly. "Then the galaxy's about to get its nightmare. Above, in orbit, the Ghost Fleet opened fire. Beams of white plasma tore through space, carving through alien dreadnoughts like paper. Each blast was precise, the work of human minds and machine focus blended into one. From the command bridge, Admiral Vega watched silently. "Send a message," he said. The communications officer blinked. "To whom, sir?" "To everyone listening." He leaned forward, his voice low but firm. "This is Admiral Vega of Earth. You attacked our people. You stole our soldiers. You studied us like animals. Now you'll learn what we really are." Inside one of the remaining alien warships, Marshal Kraith watched the human assault with horror. "They're destroying entire fleets," his officers cried. "They're ships. They don't appear on our sensors." Kraith slammed his clawed hand on the control panel. "Find me that human experiment. He's the key to all of this." But it was too late. Rex Hale was already aboard. The ship's corridors were filled with smoke and panic. Vorgel soldiers shouted orders that no one obeyed. Doors sealed. Alarms screamed. Rex moved through the chaos with a captured blaster in one hand and a stolen access card in the other. He moved differently now, faster, sharper, his body reading enemy movements before they happened. He entered the control room silently. Kraith turned, snarling. "You again?" Rex didn't reply. "He just raised his weapon. You can't win," Kraith hissed. "For every fleet you destroy, another will rise. We are eternal." Rex's eyes burned like green fire. "So are ghosts." He fired. The shot tore through the command console. Sparks exploded across the room. Systems died. Kraith staggered back, clutching his wound. You think this changes anything?" Rex stepped closer. "It changes everything." At that same moment, the Ghost Fleet's flagship, Revenant, transmitted a new signal. Hundreds of smaller ships detached, forming a shield around the planet. Then, as one, they fired into the crust of Vorgel 9. The planet cracked. A blinding wave of light spread outward, swallowing the stars. Rex barely reached the escape pod before the surface gave way. The pod launched upward, spiraling into the night sky. Through the tiny viewport, he watched the world collapse, a black sun imploding, taking with it the empire that had started the war. Hours later, on the deck of the Dawnfire, Commander Alina Torres stood staring at the wreckage. Her crew was silent, the only sound the hum of distant engines. Then the radio buzzed. "Dawnfire, this is Pod 7 requesting docking clearance." Her heart stopped. "Rex?" "Told you." His voice came through weak but steady. "You can't get rid of me that easy." When his pod docked, the crew cheered. He stepped out covered in dust, armor cracked, eyes still glowing faintly from the experiments. Alina walked up to him, disbelief and relief mixing in her eyes. "You should be dead," he shrugged. "Maybe I am. Or maybe they made something worse." She laughed, a sound that felt like hope for the first time in months. Admiral Vega's voice came over the fleet-wide channel. "The Vorgel Empire has fallen. Their leaders are gone. But this is not the end, it's the warning. To anyone who hears this transmission, do not test humanity again. We do not start wars, but if you bring one to our door," he paused. The bridge lights flickered around him. "You'll wish you hadn't." As the Ghost Fleet vanished back into the shadows of deep space, the galaxy fell silent once more. But the silence this time was different. It wasn't peace. It was fear, and in that fear, the legend grew, that somewhere out there, hidden in the black, a fleet of human ghosts still waited, watching, listening, waiting for the next empire foolish enough to touch Earth. The monster in human skin. They spoke of him in whispers, in markets, in war rooms, in the dark corners of forgotten space. The soldiers of 1,000 worlds had a new name for fear. They called it the monster in human skin. On the frozen moon of Targus, a group of alien mercenaries huddled around a flickering hologram. It showed the image of a man, tall, scarred, eyes burning faintly green. That's him, one hissed. The human from Vorgul 9. They say he walked through fire and came out alive. Another shivered, his scales tightening. No one survives that. No one. A third mercenary leaned forward. You don't understand. Humans don't just survive. They adapt. Every time we kill one, the next comes back stronger. The youngest among them asked quietly, "What does he want?" The oldest replied without looking up. "Revenge." The room went silent. Outside, the wind howled across the frozen plains, like a warning. Far away, aboard the human ship Dawnfire, Captain Rex Hale sat alone in the medbay. He was alive, technically, but ever since the experiments on Vorgul 9, he hadn't felt human. His reflection stared back from the glass panel. The faint green glow still pulsed under his skin, just beneath the veins. His muscles healed too fast, his senses too sharp. He remembered the pain, the needles, the alien laughter, and he remembered the moment he broke free, the moment he stopped feeling fear. Alina entered quietly. "Still can't sleep?" He didn't answer. "You know," she said softly, "you should be dead a dozen times over. You've earned some rest." He looked at her reflection instead of her face. "Rest doesn't come easy when you're the experiment." Alina stepped closer. "You're not a lab rat, Rex. You're a symbol now. You showed the galaxy what we're capable of." Rex turned, his voice low. "That's the problem. They don't see a man anymore, Alina. They see a weapon." Meanwhile, in the capital of the Vorgul remnant, chaos ruled. The Empire's survivors argued in their ruined council chambers. Screens flickered with shaky recordings of the ghost fleet, of the man walking through flames. "He's not human," one councillor shouted. "He's a weapon of Earth's making. A creature built to kill us." Another slammed his claws on the table. "Then we must kill him first." But their commander, a weary alien with gray eyes, shook his head. "You can't kill what isn't afraid to die." He leaned forward, whispering like it hurt to speak. "I saw him once. On the battlefield of Rhea Prime. I shot him in the heart." The room went cold. And he got back up. Back on the Dawnfire, the mood was different. Rex and Alina's crew were rebuilding, preparing for what came next. But everyone could feel it, the calm before another storm. A message arrived from Admiral Vega. It wasn't a request. It was a summons. "Rex Hale, you're being transferred to Command Base Epsilon for evaluation." "Effective immediately," Alina frowned. "They're taking you off the ship?" Rex read the message again. "They're scared of me." "You saved humanity," she said firmly. He shook his head. "That's not what they see. They see what the aliens saw, something they can't control." Command Base Epsilon floated in deep orbit above a red dwarf star, a fortress built for secrets. When Rex arrived, the guards didn't salute. They kept their hands on their weapons. A scientist met him in the corridor, Dr. Sorin, head of bioresearch. "Captain Hale," she said with a practiced smile. "You're quite the legend," Rex gave a humorless grin. "Legends die easier than I do, apparently." She gestured to a chamber filled with blue scanners. "We're just running a few tests. The Vorgul serum in your blood. It's changing faster than we expected." Rex raised an eyebrow. "Changing how?" Dr. Sorin hesitated. "It's rewriting your cells. You're becoming something new." Later that night, alarms blared across the base. Security lights flashed red. The power grid flickered. A guard rushed into Rex's quarters, panicked. "Sir, the scanners went wild. They're picking up movement outside the hull." Rex frowned. "We're in deep orbit. Nothing lives out there." The man shook his head. "It's not something living. It's many somethings." Outside, hundreds of tiny black shapes moved through the dark. Vorgul drones, silent as shadows. They attached themselves to the base's outer walls, cutting through steel like knives. Dr. Sorin's voice crackled over comms. "They found us." "They're after you, Hale." Rex grabbed a weapon from the wall. Good. The base shook as the first explosion tore through the docking ring. Soldiers ran through smoke and fire, shouting orders. In the chaos, Alina's voice came through the radio. She'd arrived with a rescue team. "Rex, you copy?" "I'm here," he said, firing down the corridor. "And I think they brought friends. Hold position." "We're coming to you." Rex ducked behind cover, breathing hard. The world seemed to slow, every sound sharper, every detail clearer. The serum in his blood reacted to the danger like it wanted the fight. He stepped out into the smoke. The drones saw him, and then they started to fall. One by one, they dropped lifeless to the floor. Their systems fried by something unseen. Alina's team arrived just in time to see it. Rex standing in the middle of a storm of sparks, calm as death. "What did you do?" she whispered. Rex looked down at his glowing hands. "I didn't do anything." He raised his eyes to her. Green light reflecting in them like twin suns. It did. Somewhere far beyond, in the ruins of the Vorgul homeworld, the remaining generals received their last transmission from the assault team. Static. Then one final voice. "We found him." Pause. "He's not human anymore." The last lesson war had ended. Or at least, that's what the galaxy wanted to believe. Stars burned quietly again. Fleets drifted home. Treaties were signed by trembling hands. But peace built on fear is only silence waiting to break. And deep inside that silence, the universe whispered one name, Rex Hale. He stood alone on the edge of a cliff on Mars Station Theta, looking down at the red plains stretching endlessly beneath him. The sun was faint and cold here, like a dying ember. His hands glowed softly, the green light fading in and out like a heartbeat. Every day it grew dimmer. Every day he wondered if he was losing the last of his humanity, or finding something new. Behind him, the door hissed open. Commander Alina Torres stepped out, her uniform dusty from travel. "You've been up here for hours," she said. Rex didn't turn. "I like the view. It reminds me that we survived." Alina crossed her arms. "You didn't just survive, Rex. You changed everything." He looked down at his hand, closing it slowly. "Did I?" She sighed. "The Council wants to see you. They're worried. Reports say entire alien fleets are abandoning their borders. Some planets are surrendering before we even speak to them." "Fear," Rex said quietly. "That's not peace. That's just another kind of war." Elsewhere, in the ruins of the Vorgul Council Hall, a surviving general slammed his clawed fist on a holographic table. "This cannot continue." The humans don't even attack anymore, yet worlds fall into line like slaves. A nervous aide whispered, "It's the stories, sir. They say the human weapon still walks among the stars. They say he cannot die," the general snarled. "No one is immortal." But the aide hesitated. "Then why are we still afraid?" Back on Mars, Rex entered the Terran Council chamber, its walls made of glass and steel, overlooking the red horizon. Admiral Vega stood at the center, hands behind his back, face stern as ever. "Captain Hale," Vega began, "your actions have reshaped this galaxy. You've become a symbol, one we cannot control." Rex's voice was calm. "I never asked to be one," Vega nodded. "Exactly. And yet the aliens believe you're leading an army of ghosts. Entire sectors surrender at the rumor of your presence. You are humanity's greatest weapon, and its greatest threat." Alina stepped forward. "With respect, sir, Rex saved us. Without him, the Vorgul would have wiped Earth clean." Vega's expression didn't soften. "Yes, and now the galaxy trembles at the mention of our name. Fear brings peace, but only for a time. Eventually, someone will try to test it again." He turned to Rex. "That's why you're being sent back out there. One last mission." Rex frowned. "To do what?" Vega's eyes were cold. "To remind them why they should never try again." 3 weeks later, the human dreadnought Archangel drifted silently into Vorgul space. Rex stood at its front viewport, staring into the endless dark. Behind him, a young pilot whispered, "Sir." "We're not really going to fire, are we?" Rex didn't answer. He thought of all the faces he'd seen, the prisoners, the soldiers, the children who'd watched their homes burn. He remembered the pain, the fire, the fear, and he remembered what Alina once told him, "We fight monsters so we don't become them." Now he wasn't sure which side of that line he stood on. Suddenly alarms blared. The sensors lit up. Dozens of alien ships dropping out of hyperspace, weapons armed. The young pilot shouted, "They're hailing us!" Rex nodded. "Put them through." The hologram flickered to life. An alien commander appeared, his voice shaking. "Human, we don't want war. We only want to understand what you are." Rex stared at him in silence. Then he said quietly, "You want to understand humanity? Then listen." He stepped forward, his voice echoing across the transmission. Calm, deep, final. "We are not the strongest. We are not the fastest. We break. We bleed. We die. But every time we fall, we rise harder." He looked straight into the alien's eyes. "You studied us like insects. You thought pain would break us. Pain made us. You thought war would destroy us. War built us." The room was silent except for his breathing. "You want a lesson? Here it is. Never mistake mercy for weakness. Because when humans fight, it's not for glory. It's for each other." He ended the transmission. For a long moment, the fleet outside held its position. Then, one by one, the alien ships powered down their weapons. The war ended not with fire, but with understanding. Later, back aboard Dawnfire, Alina met him on the deck. The sunset spilled gold across the metal floor. "So," she said quietly, "what did you tell them?" Rex smiled faintly. "The truth," she tilted her head. "Which is?" He looked at the stars. "That we don't seek domination. But if you come for us, we finish what you start." Months passed. The galaxy rebuilt. Peace, real peace, finally began. The ghost fleet vanished again into the black, silent as ever. And somewhere in the endless night, a lone ship drifted between stars. Inside, Rex Hale sat at the helm, watching the constellations shift slowly ahead. His voice, soft but certain, echoed through the empty cabin. Lesson given. He closed his eyes. Lesson learned. The message to the galaxy, the stars were silent. Too silent. Across 1,000 systems, radios hissed and screens flickered. One by one, every signal in the galaxy froze. Civilizations paused mid-sentence. Fleets stopped in space. Even the pirate frequencies, the ones no law could reach, went dark. Then a voice began to speak. It was calm, human, unmistakable. "This is Captain Rex Hale, broadcasting to every world that can still hear me." On the trade moon Karos, aliens crowded around hollow screens, their faces pale. On the warships of the Vorgul remnant, officers turned down their weapons. Even on distant Earth, children stared upward as the voice echoed through the airwaves like a heartbeat from the stars. 3 years ago, you tried to erase us. You burned our cities. You tore apart our people in your laboratories. You thought fear would keep us quiet. Rex's voice paused, steady, controlled, heavy with memory. "You were right about one thing. We were afraid, but fear didn't break us. It made us remember." At that same moment, high above the blue-green planet Earth, a single ship hung between the stars. The Dawnfire, battle-worn, patched with scars, its engines glowing like fading embers. Inside, Alina Torres stood before a console, listening to the transmission she knew would change everything. Her hand trembled over the comm switch. "Rex," she whispered. "What are you doing?" But she already knew. In the blackness of space, Rex Hale sat inside a small beacon pod drifting far beyond Mars' orbit. His armor was cracked, his face shadowed by the blinking light of the recorder. "This message isn't about revenge," he said softly. "It's about truth. Every empire falls the same way. Not by enemies, but by their own arrogance." He looked straight into the camera, eyes burning with quiet fire. "You saw humans as weak because we die easily. You never understood. Death isn't the end for us. It's the beginning of memory." He leaned closer. "Every scar, every loss, every scream, we carry it. We pass it down. That's what makes us human." The screen crackled. Static washed through the transmission. But his voice broke through again, stronger now, reaching every corner of the galaxy. "We're not gods. We're not monsters. We're just people who refuse to bow." On Vorgul Prime, the surviving generals listened in silence. One of them whispered, "He's threatening us again." Another shook his head slowly. "No, He's warning us. Back on Earth, Alina watched the live feed, her eyes wet but unblinking. The room around her was full of officers and scientists, all silent. Then Vega entered quietly. He's doing it, Alina said. He's sending the message, Vega nodded. Let him. The galaxy needs to hear this. Rex took a deep breath, his words now echoing like thunder through the stars. To every species out there, we don't want your worlds. We don't want your wars. But if you come for us again, he paused. The silence stretched, endless. Then his eyes hardened and his voice turned to iron. You'll learn why even your gods fear humanity. The transmission ended. For 10 full minutes, no one in the galaxy spoke. Not a word. Then, slowly, a strange thing happened. Alien ships that had been positioned along Earth's borders began to retreat. Colonies under occupation raised the Terran flag again, and on hundreds of planets, different species, once enemies, replayed the humans' message over and over. Some called it a threat. Others called it prophecy, but the wise called it a warning with mercy. Later that night, inside the Dawnfire, Alina replayed the recording privately. She sat alone in the cockpit, her reflection flickering across the glass. You'll learn why even your gods fear humanity. Her lips curved into a faint smile. Always had a way with words, didn't you, Hale? Behind her the stars shifted. Slow, endless, alive. Weeks passed. The galaxy calmed. The message spread like fire through dark corridors of power. Somewhere, on an uncharted moon far beyond human maps, a figure walked through soft dust and twilight. His armor was gone. His scars had faded. Rex Hale looked up at the night sky, now filled with peace instead of war. He spoke quietly, though no one was there to hear. If they remember, maybe it was worth it. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, cracked datapad, a photo of his old squad. Smiling before the war, we did it, he whispered. You can rest now. A faint breeze swept across the alien landscape, carrying red dust into the stars. Rex closed his eyes and smiled. Centuries later, explorers from another species would find that same moon. Buried beneath stone and silence, they'd discover a single beacon still pulsing faintly, repeating one line again and again into the void. We are not monsters. We are human. And somewhere, in the endless dark between stars, the universe finally listened. If you enjoyed this video, like this video, subscribing, and clicking the bell icon to stay updated with fresh content every day.